morning once again. Okay, good morning once again. And I want all of us to align about our connection because it is going off and coming on. And so we're going to align that the energy is free-flowing and that we are the two or three gathered together, and we're going to send out this energy because we have a message for you. Our theme for the month is the Evolution Revolution. Humanity's Team was founded by Neil Donald Walsh, is the author of all of the Conversations with God books. I think there's 5 out now on the New York Times bestsellers list. Neil was a member of my San Diego congregation, and I was in San Diego for 30 years. And we had an amazing energy field of 3,000 people that showed up every week. And that was the 80s and the early 90s. And when I moved to the desert, there is a shift in energy in the desert. And I always say that if you're coming to the desert and you're traveling 111, that there is a curve. And then immediately as you go around the mountain into the curve, I feel a portal opens, we drive through, and it closes. There is an energy, is an angel that's on the mountain. I mean, it just showed up. And Joan of Angels said she saw it on the way here this morning. So this, I feel that where we stand is holy ground. And when we acknowledge that there is no spot where God is not, as Emerson said, then we open in a way that we have never quite opened before. This morning's topic is, I resolve to evolve. That we are here to grow. That we are fulfilling a destiny. That we're not here by chance. We are here by divine appointment. And when we are aware of keeping that divine appointment, things begin to unfold in miraculous ways. Do we have challenges? Yes, we do. I want you to know spiritual people have even greater challenges. However, challenges? Are we giving our power away to them? Are we looking outside of ourselves? Perhaps at times. However, when I feel those feelings, to me it is a trigger symbol to go within to the secret place, to get quiet, and know that as I let go and let God do what God does best, that something within me dissolves and I am in perfect peace. My mind is stayed on thee. That's right. My mind is stayed. There is a lot of negativity going on that we can be distracted by. We must stand completely and totally in our own power. And that power is connected to the one power that we choose to call God. It doesn't matter what you call your higher power, but to know that which is within you is greater than that which resides in the world of conditions, appearances, and effects. And they do show up, and we do give our power away to them. However, this is key, to go within, that it gets our attention, to go within. And when we go within, all is made clear to us. And that we can step through this energy field with the knowingness that we are supported in our spiritual life. And when we acknowledge that we are supported in our spiritual life, we'll attract others into the energy field. So when we resolve to evolve, when we open the space to allow God to do what God does best by means of each and every one of us who heard that call and answered, and when we answer, we begin to take responsibility for our lives. And what is the twin of responsibility? Freedom. And we experience a freedom before. And one of the things, I have been a minister for 45 years. And in this 45 years, I have experienced so much. And one of the standouts for me, when we look at I resolve to evolve, was a man in my San Diego congregation that wanted to make an appointment with me. And on that particular Sunday, I had shared that when you look in the mirror, do you love and through you? Because the thing we're looking for, we're looking with. That energy is within us. And so I elaborated on the mirror of life. And we know that life is a mirror of both king and slave, right? That be not deceived, God is not mocked, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. There's a cause and effect relationship in the universe. The Hindu call it karma. It's cause and effect. And so this gentleman made an appointment. I was living in Coronado, and he wanted to see me very urgently. And on Fridays is my God day, but he wanted to see me urgently. And so ministry I founded in Santa Clarita was staying with me for the weekend, and with my daughter, and she was 11 at the time. And so I said, Ed Shapiro is going to be coming over, and so just go on upstairs, when he gets here. And what was so interesting is that when he got there, he had me read a newspaper. And there were all these articles about someone named Carl. He was the controller of an Albany bank in Chicago, and he had taken $650,000 7 years prior. Now, there's no statute of limitations when you mess with the feds. They're still after you. And so we sat there, and I thought the articles were rather boring, and I was wondering, really why he's having me read all of these. And then, the little light goes on, and the Ed Shapiro that's sitting in front of me is really this Carl Wilson that they're talking about in this newspaper that's stolen from the Albany Bank in Chicago because he was the controller. He had access to those funds. And what is so amazing about this is that he thought his marriage was on the rocks, things weren't working. He thought, money's going to solve it. So, I'll just help myself to $650,000, and then he went on the run. He had twin boys that were 7. In fact, subsequently, just a couple of months ago, one of his sons contacted me. And this was in the 80s. This was in 1982. And so as I'm sitting in my Coronados, I said, oh, got it. You're Carl Wilson. You were the controller of the Albany Bank in Chicago. You stole the $650,000, and it says you've been a fugitive for over 7 years. He said, yes. He said, I buried, some of it in a forest reserve near Pennsylvania, and I buried, another 100,000 over in Cincinnati Park. And I thought, boy, if the Boy Scouts were there and they were doing their little Boy Scout thing, listening to this, and having, my own thoughts about it. And so he said, what should I do? Your talk on Sunday when you said, can you look in the mirror? He said, I've had several aliases. I went to Las Vegas. I gambled, and, I lost, I won, I lost and won. And I know subconsciously I'm really trying to get rid of it. And he actually had a girlfriend in the congregation. And her, of course. And his wife had declared him dead, because after 7 years, you're declared dead if no one has heard from you. And so he said, what should I do? And I said, surrender. And he said, surrender? And I said, yes, surrender. You've been on the run for over 7 years. You haven't seen your 7-year-old boys that are now, 14 in 7 years. You haven't contacted any of your family about, them tracing calls. Surrender. So he thought a moment, and he said, would you fly to Chicago with me to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI? And I said, yes, I'll call. I have an attorney friend, I'll call him. And his partner was into criminal law. And so his name was Sam Castiglione. And Sam said yes, that he would go. And so within 2 days, we are on our way to Chicago for Carl Wilson to surrender to the FBI for stealing the Albany Bank in Chicago, in which he was the controller, thinking money is going to solve it. My marriage is on the rocks, nothing's working in my life. I'm going to get me some money here and it's all going to work out. Not. Looking in the outer never fills the hole in the soul. Ever. And when he could not look in the mirror and see God gazing back through him, it got his attention. And he said, I have to stop this. So we went into the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI office. I said, this is 1982, I'm a bit younger. And you have to realize, they've been looking at for him for. So in marches little Reverend Sharron Stroud saying, I would like to introduce Carl Wilson, who has been a fugitive for 7.5 years, who robbed the Albany Bank in Chicago of $650,000, and he's here to surrender at my counsel. And I could just see, they're looking at me and they're thinking, oh my God, we were after him all these years, and here she is marching in from San Diego. And so I asked him, I said, Carl, would you like me to go and tell your parents that you are alive and well? And the FBI agent said, you will not speak to the fugitive! Excuse me, I thought I was the one that just brought him in and he surrendered. And so, oh no, these are rules and regulations. And I realized later it was their own embarrassment. So I turned to my friend who's the attorney, and Carl is just, we're all there together sitting in chairs. And I said, Sam, would you please ask Carl if he would like me to go to see his parents and tell them that he's alive and well and has surrendered to the FBI. So that Sam says to Carl, Reverend Sharron has said, it was so ridiculous. And so there we go. The parents live on Dickens Street. And Sam goes, this whole thing is so Dickens-esque. I mean, the whole thing. Here we're going to Dickens Street. The parents are curators at a Methodist church, and we're walking up these spiral stairs that were like forever. We finally get to the top. I knock on the door, and I hear, hello, yes. And I said, this is Reverend Sharron Stroud from San Diego, California. Your son Carl was in my congregation. We're talking through the door now. And he has just surrendered to the FBI. She opens the door and she goes, oh my God, I thought he was dead. Oh my God, he's alive. And I said, yes. So we go in and I see his father is on the couch. He's had a heart attack and he's recovering. And you just don't know what this is. Was it mafia inspired? And I said, no, he thought of this all on his own. As the controller of the Albany Bank in Chicago, he did this all on his own. And he has surrendered now, and he wants to make restitution because there's a couple $100,000 that are buried in forest reserves, and he's going to take the FBI to dig it up and get what's there. And so it was just such an amazing unfoldment, because the night before he surrendered, we went on this carriage ride, and he said, oh, there's my elementary school where I went. There's my middle school. There's my high school, my CPA. And, a CPA is very esteemed. However, my custodian at our ministry said, oh, yes, cleaning, pressing, and alterations. I said, in this case, yes, cleaning, pressing, and alterations. However, the certified public accountant made other choices. And when he showed me Southwest College and that he was on the honor list even, what happens in consciousness when we think some outer thing is going to do it for us? And it was so amazing, he had this little jewel box that he wanted me to give to his girlfriend. And this is the irony of it. I opened it up and it, rich man. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, if I were a rich man. And I said, I'll be very happy to give this to Karen, and he had a letter in it for her. And I will give this to her. And then we flew back to San Diego. I received a call from him, collect. He was in a white-collar prison with all the Watergate guys. And I said, what is this, hotel and room service? You're calling me collect? And he said, well, I flew out with the FBI, and they found $100,000 of what I had buried. It was still there. And I feel that these men, you think about energetically, that we think some outer thing is going to do it for us. And what happens is we get deeper and deeper into the energy of ego. And when we're in the energy of ego, we're told biblically that we cannot serve God and ego, which is called mammon. We cannot serve two masters. You will either love the one or hate the other, or vice versa. We cannot serve two masters. It's like love and fear cannot occupy the same space, he said, and this was profound. This was profound. He said, I am better now. Subsequently, mankind as a whole is better. Now think about the esoteric energy and meaning of this. I am better now. That energetically, every time a soul is healed, the planet as a whole is uplifted energetically. Every time someone takes higher ground for ourselves to know the truth, and the truth will set us free to a much higher vibratory frequency to live and move and have our being in the world, but of this higher consciousness that we tap into. I am better now. Subsequently, mankind as a whole is better. I said, this is so profound because your healing uplifts all of it. And then a very interesting and strange thing happened. And they were going to Pennsylvania to dig up the other 100. And the plane crashed with the FBI brothers and Carl into a metaphysical bookstore in the outskirts of Chicago. And of course, they all transcended together. And he said, I feel that these men are my brothers. So collectively, they all transcended together. Tagore said it best, death is not extinguishing the light, it's turning off the lamp because dawn has come, that we have a contract to be here. When the contract is up, we're moving on into that next dimension, beyond time and space. And yesterday it was my husband Neil Stroud's anniversary, his heavenly anniversary of leaving the planet. And I felt his energy strongly all day long. And my daughter and her family live in Arizona, and they went to Sedona, and they found a body of water to put their flowers in memory of Neil Stroud. And then they did these beautiful little rock totems in his honor as a memorial. And I thought, what a beautiful gesture, that to be in nature and to acknowledge beyond the reach of hands, yet ever in the heart. And so when these men transcended together and moved on together as brothers, that this karmic debt, it was paid. And that when he moved on, subsequently, mankind as a whole was uplifted out of this one healing. So when you resolve to evolve, looking in a mirror and seeing that energy of spiritual essence gazing back to you, you know who you are. God and I are the majority. Jesus said, I and my Father are one. And out of this oneness do we live and move and have our being. And Lord Buddha said, and I love it, man, woman is the result of all that they have thought. All that they have thought. So this morning, as we resolve to evolve, that, this is a very just of the San Diego Union, the LA Times, I was in Time Magazine, Newsweek, U.S. World Report, and my aunt called me from Oklahoma because she'd read it on the UPI. And it just went, it was viral. We didn't have that word then, but it went viral about this little San Diego minister brings in a fugitive that the FBI couldn't catch for over 7.5 years. They could not catch him. He was too slippery for them. They should have, if they'd come to my spiritual center, they would have found him, right? But they're looking in all the other places. And energetically, I could just bless these men at the FBI that their efforts had not borne the fruits of their labors because it was not divinely ordained. This man needed something to get his attention, and it was when you look in the mirror, do you feel the presence of God gazing back through you? So as we look in the mirror and we resolve to evolve, and that all the things that are going on the planet at this time is not the truth of our being. They are facts, realities. Let's get that. They are facts. They have shown up, but they are not spiritual realities. So on this day, as we resolve to evolve, and we acknowledge that we look the same on the outside, don't we? And I can put an orange here and an apple here, and then I can put the apple here and the orange over here, and what is that? That is a change. But if you take the apple and you bite into it, and that is transformation. We look the same on the outer, but inside, we are different. We have been touched by the Holy Spirit, and we are never, ever the same. So on this day, when we acknowledge that I resolve to evolve, to move past the way I've done it, to move past my little fears and upsets and little grudges and pettiness, to really experience the larger picture. And when we experience the larger picture, therein lies God. And I think Whitman said it the best, in the faces of men and women, I see God. So on this, to acknowledge the truth of our being, and to know that that one goes before us and prepares the way as we become a lamp unto our own feet, drawing others into our light and into our energy field. And let's align that everyone and anyone who comes within our energy field is healed and uplifted in our presence. Let's accept that today. Everyone and anyone who comes within our energy field is healed and uplifted in our presence. And when Carl Wilson's son notified me a few months ago, I could write back to him and said, anything you know about my father would be so welcome. And I wrote back and I said, he transcended knowing that he gave to the world. I am better now. Subsequently, mankind as a whole is better. When we are healed, mankind as a whole is uplifted. So I acknowledge that we are all going somewhere. Do you know where that is? Higher yet. Where is it? Higher yet. Where is it? Higher yet. For we are in a high place, and none of these outer things move us, because we are in a high place, and we will not come down. I say namaste. The God in me salutes the God in you, and the God in you salutes the God in me. And if I am in that place in me, and you are in that place in you, there is only one of us. Namaste. I say shalom, the peace that passes all understanding. And God bless us, everyone. And so it is. Thank you. I love you. And now I'm turning it over to Fleet, who has something so beautiful prepared for us.